Have you ever felt like your life is stuck in a loop? Like no matter what you do, the same challenges, the same frustrations, and the same patterns keep coming up day after day, year after year. The job you don't love, the relationship that keeps hitting a wall, the recurring health issues, or the same financial struggles. No matter how hard you try, things never seem to change. The worst part is, you're often left wondering, why isn't anything improving? But what if I told you that the very act of observing your reality, the constant checking, the monitoring, the assessment of where you stand, is actually keeping you stuck in that cycle? What if you're actively freezing your reality in place just by watching it too closely? It's hard to believe, right? But this isn't some abstract philosophical concept. It's grounded in quantum physics, a realm where the nature of reality itself is governed by rules that seem almost impossible to grasp. One of the most profound revelations from quantum mechanics is a phenomenon known as the Quantum Zeno Effect. This concept isn't just theoretical, it's scientifically validated, and it has the power to explain why your life might feel like it's running in place, unable to shift or evolve. Here's the shocking truth. When you observe a quantum system too frequently, you actually prevent it from evolving. You freeze it in its current state, and the same principle applies to your life. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in a state of superposition. That means, until they're observed, they exist in multiple states or possibilities at once. The famous double-slit experiment proves this. When no one is watching, a photon can pass through two slits at once, behaving like a wave of infinite potential. But when a detector is introduced to measure which slit it passes through, the photon chooses one slit. The wave function collapses. It's no longer a potential, it's a reality. This means that the act of observation creates reality, not just reveals it. Now, think about your life. If you constantly check your bank account, monitor your relationships, and assess your emotional state throughout the day, you're doing the same thing as that photon in the experiment. You're collapsing all possible futures into a single reality, the one you're already familiar with, the one that you're observing over and over again. And the more frequently you check, the more you lock that reality into place. In other words, you're freezing the future by constantly observing the present. What if you could break this pattern? What if the key to unlocking new possibilities in your life is simply changing the way you observe it? This isn't just some deep philosophical idea. The Quantum Zeno Effect proves that when you observe something repeatedly, you prevent it from changing. The more you watch, the more you freeze your reality. You see, in the quantum realm, observation is not passive. It's not just about watching. It's about creating the reality you experience. Just like the photon in the double-slit experiment, your consciousness has the power to collapse all potential possibilities into a single outcome, one that you've been observing over and over. Let's bring this into the realm of your everyday life. Every morning when you wake up, what's the first thing you do? You check your bank account, you check your email, you look in the mirror, you check your weight, you assess how you feel, and you start checking in on the same things you've been checking on for years. The reality you observe in the morning is the same reality you observe every day, and each time you check, you're reinforcing it. You might think that this behavior is helping you stay informed, stay on top of things. But in reality, what you're doing is locking yourself into the same patterns. You're confirming your current reality, but you're doing so much more than that. You're collapsing the wave of potential into one specific version of yourself, one specific version of your life. This is the secret behind why most people's lives feel stuck. They constantly check, constantly observe, and constantly measure their reality. The more they observe, the more they freeze it in place. You might feel trapped in the same financial situation, the same relationship patterns, or the same health struggles because you've been observing them in the same way for too long. And every time you check, you collapse the potential for change, locking your reality into the same loop. The question then becomes, how do you break free from this pattern? How do you stop freezing your reality and allow it to evolve into something new? Here's the key: release the need to control. The Quantum Zeno Effect reveals that by observing too much, you're trying to control the situation. You're trying to predict the outcome, trying to monitor progress, trying to force change. But real change happens when you stop trying to control it and give your reality the space to evolve naturally. You see, the Quantum Zeno Effect doesn't just lock things in place when you observe too much. It also shows us the opposite. When you stop observing, when you release your grip, the system begins to evolve again. It becomes free to explore new possibilities and new configurations. This is what you've been missing all along. Real transformation comes when you stop checking, stop monitoring, and stop trying to force your reality into a specific shape. You have to trust that the universe will unfold in the way it's meant to, without you controlling every step of the way. In the quantum world, this shift happens when you allow a system to exist in superposition, where infinite possibilities are allowed to emerge. And guess what? You have the power to allow your life to exist in superposition. The next time you feel tempted to monitor and check your reality, ask yourself, am I freezing my life in place with my constant observation? Imagine what would happen if you started observing your life differently. Observing without fear, without attachment, without trying to force it into a particular outcome. Imagine giving your reality the freedom to evolve in ways you can't predict, letting it surprise you with possibilities you never even thought possible. So how do you make this shift from freezing observation to evolutionary observation? That's the next step, and it's exactly what we'll be diving into in the next part of this video. Now that we've uncovered the power of observation in shaping your reality, it's time to address the core issue at hand, freezing your reality by observing it the wrong way. But more importantly, I want to show you how to shift your observation from something that locks you in place to something that unlocks new possibilities, new opportunities, and real transformation in your life. So let's take a closer look at freezing observation and how it works. As I mentioned earlier, it's a concept that operates from a place of fear and control. Every time you check, monitor, or try to measure something in your life, you're doing it with the belief that you need to control it. Whether it's your financial situation, your health, your relationships, or even your goals and dreams, this compulsive need to observe and control your reality is keeping it frozen. It's a loop. The Quantum Zeno Effect has shown us that when you observe something too frequently, you lock it into its current state. But what's worse, this constant observation doesn't give the system any chance to evolve. Just like a photon stuck in its state due to too many measurements, you've been stuck in a version of yourself, a version of your life that you've created through anxiety and fear-driven observation. You're subconsciously creating quantum entanglement with the state of your life, binding yourself to it. Think about it. When you check your bank account multiple times a day, what are you doing? You're confirming what you believe to be true. There's not enough, or there's only a limited amount of money in your life. The same thing happens when you check your relationships. If you're constantly monitoring the dynamic, you're reinforcing the pattern that needs to change. It's like you're saying to the universe, here's the reality I believe in, and I'm going to keep watching it until I get the result I expect. What's even more fascinating is that by observing reality this way, you're not giving it the opportunity to surprise you. You're not opening the door for new possibilities. Instead, you're closing it every time you check. You're saying, I know exactly what my financial reality looks like, and I'm going to keep checking it to see if it changes. But in doing that, you freeze it. Here's the deal. The more you focus on what you don't want, the more of it you see. This is because your constant observation, your focus, is collapsing every possible future into the reality you already know. It's like you're forcing yourself to live in a loop where the same experiences keep repeating themselves. And the worst part, the more you obsess over it, the more you anchor yourself in that same limited space. But there's another way, a far more powerful way that doesn't require struggle or effort. It's called evolutionary observation, a shift that allows your reality to naturally evolve into new, expansive possibilities, rather than staying stuck in the same old loop. The key to evolutionary observation lies in trust. Unlike freezing observation, which is driven by fear and control, evolutionary observation comes from a place of curiosity and allowance. It's about being present to your reality without the need to monitor every detail, and it's rooted in the understanding that your reality is constantly shifting and changing, just like the quantum particles in the double-slit experiment. When you start observing from a place of curiosity, you stop trying to control every outcome. You stop measuring the same thing over and over again, and you allow life to surprise you. You allow new opportunities to emerge without closing the door by constantly monitoring your current state. Evolutionary observation is about releasing attachment to the outcome, trusting that the universe is in constant flow and that what you desire is already on its way. Let's take an example to better understand how this works in practice. Imagine you're trying to improve your health. The freezing observation approach would have you constantly checking your weight, tracking every calorie you eat, obsessively monitoring your workouts, and seeing if you've made progress. It feels like you're taking action, but what you're actually doing is locking your health into a current state. Every time you measure, you're reaffirming your belief that you're not healthy enough, or that you haven't reached your goal yet. The evolutionary observation approach is different. Instead of obsessively monitoring your health every moment, you set an intention to be healthier. You focus on your overall well-being, not just on the numbers. You trust your body's natural intelligence to guide you, and you observe your health from a space of openness. You observe what feels right in your body, and you allow your health to evolve without feeling the need to control it every step of the way. It's like planting a seed and trusting that it will grow. You don't check the seed every hour to see if it's growing. You create the right conditions for growth, and you trust that the plant will grow at its own pace. Similarly, in your life, when you observe your reality from evolutionary awareness, you create the conditions for growth and transformation. You allow your desires to manifest naturally without forcing them into existence. But there's a catch. Evolutionary observation isn't just about shifting your actions, it's about shifting your energy. You must align your energy with the frequency of what you want to experience. When you observe your reality with curiosity and openness, you release the energy of lack and fear that often accompanies freezing observation. The result? The universe responds to your shift in observation by evolving your reality. And when you stop obsessing, stop controlling, and stop trying to measure everything, your reality begins to open up in new, exciting ways. One powerful way to practice evolutionary observation is through mindfulness. Instead of checking your bank account multiple times a day, you simply allow your financial reality to exist. You focus on being present in the moment, and you trust that the universe is moving you toward your financial goals, even if you can't see the full picture right away. When you let go of needing to know everything and trust the process, you give the universe the space to surprise you. It's all about trusting in the unseen, trusting that what you desire is already on its way, and opening your consciousness to new possibilities. So as we move forward, think about this. What if your reality, just like a quantum system, is waiting for you to stop watching it in the old, limiting way? What if, by simply shifting your observation, you could allow your life to evolve into a reality you've never even imagined? The choice is yours. Will you continue observing your life from the freezing, limiting perspective? Or will you choose to observe from a space of curiosity, openness, and evolutionary potential? As we continue our journey into understanding how our observation affects the world around us, it's crucial to grasp that evolutionary observation is not just a technique or a mindset shift. It is a complete transformation in how you engage with your reality. It is the key that unlocks the door to not only manifesting your desires, but also to completely redefining your relationship with time, space, and possibility. By now, you must be beginning to see that your reality isn't as solid as it seems. You are not an outsider looking into a fixed, rigid world. Rather, you are a dynamic participant in a fluid, evolving process of consciousness. The quantum mechanics at play show us that everything is entangled, from particles to people, from your desires to your thoughts. And it is your style of observation, your way of engaging with this entanglement, that determines the kind of reality you experience. But there's a powerful truth to acknowledge here. You are not a passive observer of life. The moment you realize this, your whole perspective shifts. You are the creator, the observer, and the observed all at once. You are the one who has been locking yourself into patterns, keeping yourself trapped in loops of the same old story. But once you understand that the act of observation itself is what gives birth to your reality, everything changes. Freezing observation, as we discussed, is driven by fear, lack, and attachment. It is a state of anxiety where you continuously monitor and recheck your life, desperate to control the outcomes. This is what keeps you in the loop. When you look at your bank account, or your job, or your relationships, with the mindset that they must stay the same or improve according to your will, you are freezing them into their current form. The act of watching with fear of lack or fear of failure ensures that you collapse the quantum field into the same old patterns. Your reality remains exactly the way it was before because you refuse to let it evolve. Now let's go deeper. Evolutionary observation, on the other hand, is an energy of allowance, trust, and curiosity. It is not about controlling the outcome or forcing a change. It is about allowing your reality to unfold naturally, observing it without attachment, and staying open to the possibility that things can change in ways you have never imagined before. When you observe in this way, you are no longer locking yourself into a pattern. Instead, you are allowing multiple possibilities to exist at the same time. Think of it as opening the door to a multiverse of potential realities. Instead of narrowing your focus to only one version of your life, you begin to expand your awareness, allowing for a universe of possibilities to exist. This is when the magic happens, when you release control and simply observe with wonder and curiosity. Let's consider a practical example: relationships. Many of us fall into the trap of monitoring and controlling the dynamics of our relationships. We constantly check if the relationship is stable. We monitor whether our partner still loves us. We check if things are still okay. This is freezing observation at its finest. Every time we do this, we lock our relationships into a pattern of repetition. We keep recreating the same dynamic over and over because we are afraid of change. We are afraid that if we stop monitoring, something bad will happen. But evolutionary observation works differently. If you want to improve or transform your relationship, you must stop obsessively measuring it and instead allow it to breathe. Release the need to control it and instead observe it without judgment. Recognize the love you already share and trust that the relationship is evolving and transforming at its own pace. Let the relationship unfold naturally, with the understanding that it is constantly shifting into higher states, just as you are. This way, you no longer feel the need to check or measure constantly, because your observation is aligned with the evolutionary flow of the relationship. The beauty of evolutionary observation is that it also gives you the power to shift your reality by shifting your internal state. It's not about doing more or trying harder. It's about being more present, more attuned to the natural flow of your own desires. If you want abundance, love, or success, don't look for them as things that are outside of you. Rather, recognize that they are already entangled with you. The key is being in that state, not chasing it. Now, here's where it gets really powerful. When you start observing your reality from an evolutionary standpoint, you no longer see the world as something to be controlled or dominated. You start seeing it as a collaborative partner that is responding to your awareness, your energy, and your focus. When you release the idea that something is missing from your life and instead focus on what is already there, you start feeling more whole, more complete, and more aligned with your desires. Take financial abundance as another example. Many people obsess over their bank account, monitor it constantly, check it for signs of improvement, but this only locks the financial reality into its current state. The more you focus on the lack, the more lack you create. But when you shift your focus to the abundance that already exists in your life, and stop compulsively checking your account to see if it's improving, your energy begins to shift. You align yourself with the infinite potential of the universe, and your financial reality starts to reflect that. It's about learning to trust that you are already connected to everything you need. It's about trusting the quantum field to provide everything at the right time. This is evolutionary observation. It's about expanding your awareness to see the possibilities that have always existed, but you may have been too focused on the lack to notice. The real secret to transformative change, whether in finances, relationships, health, or anything else, is to shift from obsessive monitoring to allowing and observing. Stop forcing yourself to measure every aspect of your life. Instead, focus on what you already have and trust that the universe is constantly reshaping your reality in alignment with your desires. The shift from freezing observation to evolutionary observation is not instantaneous for most people. It requires a new way of thinking and being, but the beauty is that this shift doesn't require effort. It simply requires you to change your relationship to reality. When you stop focusing on what you don't have and begin observing the abundance and love and peace that already exist in your life, you begin to change your quantum field. So ask yourself, how am I observing my life right now? Am I observing it through the lens of fear and control, or am I observing it with openness, curiosity, and trust? Here's the ultimate breakthrough. Your reality can't change until you change the way you observe it. When you shift from a freezing, anxious observation to an open, curious one, you open yourself to new possibilities. You allow your quantum field to explore multiple realities instead of locking yourself into one. As we reach the final stages of this understanding, the true transformation occurs. It's not about changing the things outside of you. It's about changing your perception of those things. When you shift your observation style, your reality begins to evolve naturally. You begin to live in a world where possibilities are endless, opportunities appear spontaneously, and the infinite potential of the universe starts responding to your newly evolved energy.